All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a highly unconventional, honestly fascinating framework that outlines a completely alternative way for human society to exist. Now, it's absolutely crucial to note right at the top that all the articles and source material for our entire analysis today come directly from a single author, Xu Feng, who is the founder and sole architect behind Lifechanyuan. What makes his writings so compelling is just how radically they break away from pretty much every traditional societal structure we're used to. Political, legal, religious, you name it. We're going to rely strictly on Xu Feng's own words to figure out exactly what Lifechanyuan is, what it definitely isn't, and what it demands of the people who follow it.
To get a solid grip on all this, we're going to break Xu Feng's manifesto down into 4 main themes. First, Xu Feng's grand vision. 2, defining the undefinable. 3, the Superman philosophy. And 4, becoming a Chanyuan celestial.
So, let's kick things off with Section 1. Xu Feng's grand vision, the architect of a 1,000-year era.
Starting off with his massive, long-term vision for humanity, you really have to notice the specific terminology Xu Feng uses here. When someone creates a completely new philosophical framework, you usually expect them to position themselves as a grand leader, a guru, or an absolute ruler. But right out of the gate, he completely flips that script. He explicitly defines his role not as a politician or a commander, but literally as a tour guide and a messenger. According to the text, his functional duty is super specific: to guide his followers, the Chanyuan celestials, to these higher eternal realms like the 1,000-year world and the Elysium celestial islands continent. So he's basically framing his leadership as a service of cosmic navigation rather than earthly domination. And this perfectly tees up the ultimate earthly goal here, or, well, what he actually calls the byproduct of his guidance. It's known as the Lifechanyuan era. Xu Feng describes this as a millennium of absolute perfect harmony, completely ditching traditional human models of production and life. The core objective is a prolonged 1,000-year state of seamless coexistence between man, society, and nature. It's this sweeping utopian vision designed to basically override the way human beings currently live on Earth.
Moving right along to Section 2, defining the undefinable, an organization that claims not to be one.
To actually create this 1,000-year era, Xu Feng's approach to organizing people is honestly full of paradoxes. A huge part of understanding Lifechanyuan is looking at how it defines itself by stating what it is not. Xu Feng writes that this community exists primarily on the internet. It is totally digital first. It deliberately, completely distances itself from traditional groups by declaring, outright, that it is not a political organization, not a religion, and not even a social club. Plus, he explicitly bans offline propaganda. No door-to-door knocking, no banners, and absolutely no physical rituals or ceremonies. It operates completely outside the conventional playbook of how groups usually gather and grow. And because Xu Feng genuinely views his tenets as perfectly clear and self-evident, he insists there is zero need for debate, literally none. If you resonate with the concepts, you follow the guide. But if you think you're right and he's wrong, you just go your own way, no hard feelings. Participation relies 100% on voluntary alignment, which is a brilliant mechanism if you think about it, because it inherently filters out conflict. By just flat out refusing to argue or persuade anyone, the community ends up consisting only of people who are already entirely on board with his vision.
Which brings us to Section 3, the Superman philosophy, obedience and the rule of Tao. So, without any laws, rules, or even a basic democratic voting process, how do people actually collaborate? Well, Xu Feng operates on what he calls the Superman philosophy, and it is for sure one of the most striking operational rules in the entire text. In Lifechanyuan, there is absolutely no compromise, no consultation, no democracy. When two people interact, it's this extreme binary system of total obedience. Either I completely obey you and you take 100% of the responsibility for whatever happens, or you completely obey me and I bear all the consequences. It is a massive rejection of modern consensus building. If two people can't agree on who submits to who, Xu Feng says they literally just walk separate paths and mind their own business.
Instead of human laws or religious doctrines, the whole group runs on what he terms holographic management. He specifically contrasts this with the systems we're used to today. It's not the rule of law, it's not the rule of men, and it's definitely not a theocracy. Instead, it's the rule of Tao. By handing governance completely over to the natural order, the Tao, Xu Feng sets up a system that theoretically doesn't need human managers, police, or courts whatsoever.
All right, on to our final section, Section 4, becoming a Chanyuan celestial, the daily requirements.
So we've got a vision of a 1,000-year era, this internet-centric non-organization. and a philosophy of absolute binary obedience. The obvious question is, who are the people actually living this out? The members are called Chanyuan's Celestials. And what's really fascinating is who Zhu Feng explicitly says he does not want. He flat out states that Lifechanyuan isn't trying to cultivate management talents. He doesn't want societal elites, rich business people, or famous stars. That whole ambition for worldly success is completely thrown out the window. Instead, Chanyuan Celestials are individuals cultivated solely for their spiritual qualities: truth, goodness, beauty, love, faith, and honesty. It is a total 180 from typical societal metrics for success. And if you happen to be deemed to have the great blessings required to actually become a Chanyuan Celestial, your daily to-do list is remarkably short. According to Che Feng, there are really only 3 actionable things you have to do. First, pay back your debts and sever your worldly ties. Basically, untangle yourself from the messy systems of the outside world. Second, accumulate merits and virtues purely through serving and dedication. And third, improve your personal qualities so that you are prepared to go to heaven. That's it. It's a highly structured simplicity designed to keep your focus entirely on spiritual ascension rather than earthly stuff.
Coming full circle back to his role as the founder, this final quote brilliantly illustrates how Zhu Feng closes the loop on his own authority. After laying out this massive philosophy, he doubles down on his hands-off approach. He claims he enforces absolutely nothing. No rewards, no punishments, the assessment of merits, any divine punishments, the whole flow of life and death, that's all left entirely up to the flawless execution of the Tao. The entire system is meant to be self-regulating, with Zhu Feng just holding up a sign, pointing the way forward. As we wrap up this explainer of Zhu Feng's highly unconventional blueprint, it really leaves us pondering some deep questions about the very limits of human organization. Zhu Feng has drafted a framework that totally rejects laws, debate, compromise, and ambition, swapping them out for voluntary resonance and binary obedience under natural law. It challenges literally everything we assume about how you manage large groups of people. So I'm going to leave you with this to chew on. Can a society actually pull this off? Can it truly function entirely on voluntary resonance without a single written rule, guided only by the invisible rule of Tao? Or is human nature just a little too complex for that streamlined of an existence? Thanks for diving into this one with me, and keep questioning the structures around you.